Welcome members and public. I would like to open the meeting for the Board of Adjustment for September 17th, 2015. Could we get a roll call, please?
Jonathan Spencer.
Present.
Here. Jenna.
Present. Present.
All right, moving on. Approval of the agenda from the April meeting. Do we have any discussion on that?
The agenda for this meeting and the minutes are for the next meeting.
The minutes is next.
Oh.
Okay, move on to the minutes. Approval of the minutes of the April meeting. Do we have any discussion on that?
I have not.
I move that based upon the clerk's certification, the minutes be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, do we have any unscheduled appearances for this evening that are not currently on the public hearing? All right, seeing none. I guess we move forward with variance VAR 15-0003, variance for a 4-foot maximum fence height and 50% open requirements for a front yard fence at 4189 West Bowles Avenue, Littleton. You guys, staff? Thank you.
For the record, my name is Pam Hall, and I'm assistant planner for the City of Littleton. And I'm here today as a staff liaison to end up and provide you with the communications and what we need for variance 15-0003. As you've been given the exhibits, and the staff communication, this is for a 4-foot maximum height and 50% open space requirements variance for the front yard. The application is filed by Edward, he goes by Ted, and Nancy Baruch, owners of the property at 4189 West Bowles Avenue. The applicants are requesting the variance in the front yard to construct a solid 8-foot high privacy sound barrier fence. This home was built in 1906, and the property was annexed into the city in 1963. The present RE, which is Residential Estates District, was established at the time of annexation. During the 1980s, the City of Littleton widened Bowles Avenue to accommodate the heavy traffic on the corridor. And around that time, they established standards for a fence to be able to fence detail for the sound walls, which has been widely utilized throughout Bowles Avenue. The design consists of the 8-foot high cedar fence with brick columns. And the applicants purchased the property according to records for Arapahoe County, January 5th, 2015, but since I've been told by the applicant, it was actually purchased December 24th of 14, but because of the holidays, I believe there was a little bit of a difference there. So the following criteria for approval, there's 5 different criteria. The first one is that the requested variance would not allow any other use other than the uses permitted in the RE zone district, which is true. Excuse me. that the variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood or zone district, and the landowner wishes to match the design of the existing fences located on both sides of the street along Bowles Avenue to provide relief for them for light pollution and noise pollution. The number 3 is the variance will be the minimum one to afford relief. They are planning on using the City of Littleton's established standards for the fences to help mitigate the light and noise pollution caused by living along this busy street. Number 4, that the variance would not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare. This type of fence has been utilized for over 20 years along Bowles Avenue, and the applicants wish to use these specifications in detail established by the City of Littleton. We did do decibel readings in 2002 and found that using this type of fence actually reduces the noise by 39%. The hardship, if any, was not created by the owner. The applicant seeks just to mitigate the noise and light pollution that exists along Bowles Avenue while maintaining a consistent fence design along the corridor. Does the board have any questions from staff?
Number 1, is the property on the historical register?
Excuse me?
Is the property on the historical register?
I don't know the answer to that. I do not believe it is historic property. Nancy, do you happen to know that?
She would know that if she owns it, I think.
That's what I
Yes.
think, yes. So I believe it is not on the register.
Okay. And the setback from the curb on West Bowles will be how far?
There is an easement that goes along in front of it, so it would be outside of the easement. And I don't know exactly the dimensions of that.
Okay.
Pam, you
Yes.
said that the City of Littleton at some point approved this type of fence for that particular area, is that
Correct.
correct? And if that's the case, why are we doing the variance request? Is it just, I'm not sure I understand if that's already been.
Right. It was established as design criteria, and when the city put in for the neighborhoods that were along there, it was done through the city. However, individual persons that live along there would need to end up and need to get the variance provided for them. We had one case approximately 3 years ago, and I believe both John and you, Lane,
Yes,
were
I remember.
here
Right.
on the south side, almost directly across from this property, and we needed to go through the variance process for that.
Okay. And so you're saying then that where there's the subdivisions like Bomar and such, you see that fence with the brick posts and the
Right.
wood vertical
Right.
solid fencing, and that the subdivisions had it approved at the time they went in, but each individual, again, I'm just repeating what I
Correct.
think you told me.
Yes.
That when, but other people that didn't get it as part of the approval of the subdivision have to get their individual variances.
Correct.
All right.
So the city worked out something with the subdivision. So for instance, the hamlet has it as well. So all, Bomar, the hamlet. There's also one to the east of Low Boulevard that has this as well.
Thank
So
you.
all of those worked it out. And the only ones that have come before the Board of Adjustment are the individuals.
And this, what they're proposing to do is meets those standards that were established.
Correct.
Thanks.
If I recall the drawing correctly, it showed a section. Can we expect to have masonry posts every so often as the fences do on the south and further to the west?
Correct. They'll need to follow the specifications that the city established. So, and the distance is in there as well, and the brick columns, the 8-foot, and then they put sound reducing material between the fence. So it's actually a 2-sided fence.
And Pam, the variance is for the portion that fronts Bowles, not the return sides, correct? Or does it include the return? There is a return, I think, on the east and the west side of the property, about 40 feet or so. Those will
Correct.
also be 8 foot tall
Correct.
and then
So it's for
reduced
the
to
in-
its standard 6 foot
Right.
privacy. Okay.
And so it's going to basically be in their entire front yard. So it's got the wings that go and then the fence along Bowles.
It'll be 8 feet on the front and 6-foot fences on the sides, down the east and west borders.
It would be 8 foot, what you're granting is for 8 foot along those side portions as well.
Well, okay.
There's a return in the exhibits where
Mm-hmm.
it shows, I think it's 40 feet on either the east and the
Yeah,
west
I
side.
saw it looked like 6 feet.
Yeah, it drops down to 6 feet after that initial 40.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that there was no, you don't have any real information or strong data on the setback. The Bowles are very, it's got a lot of traffic. And, and being able to see up and down the street, both for going into the property as well as coming out of the property, to me, it is a health and safety concern. It is, what kind of study or what kind of information did the board take a look at, or did the staff take a look at to indicate that that's going to be safe ingress and egress?
Once they submit a building permit, then the city traffic analyst will take a look at it to make sure that it will end up and not be impeding any sight distance triangles. So that'll be part of the building permit process. That's also where we end up and check for utility easements or anything like that they would need to stay out of.
So in one of the exhibits, addressing Don's comment, there's a 10-foot easement within the property. The fence will be located further back behind that easement, not on the street side of the easement.
Correct.
Correct. So it looks, okay.
So the setback's going to be at least 10 feet.
Yeah, so
Correct.
here's the curb line right here, then here's the property.
So that's farther back than on the other side of the street, isn't it?
I believe on the other side of the street, there's a 8-foot sidewalk, and it goes up to the back of the sidewalk. So I believe it's 2 foot further, but there is an easement on this side. There's not on the south side.
Because, it's going to be important for the people coming down Bowles to be able to see people trying to egress.
No, I drive it every day, so forwards and backs, so you're right. The site, people pulling out into that line of traffic is an issue.
Do we have any other questions for staff?
Okay, well, I will bring up Nancy Baruch. She is one of the applicants.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address, please.
Nancy Baruch, and we live at 4189 West Bowles Avenue, Littleton, Colorado, 80123.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add to the staff's presentation on the fence?
I don't think so. The easement is about 10 feet, and there's a few trees along there. And so we will definitely set it back far enough where we can pull out. And with our cars, a lot of times we use actually the easement that goes over to Blue Sage Road. So, and we've trimmed back the trees, the lower branches, so we can see better. But it would be really nice to have a fence there. The house sits about 40 feet away from Bowles Avenue, so it is close. The noise is quite loud. The headlights.
You have a big window right there.
Yeah. So,
Questions for the applicant?
I don't.
The, as far as the construction of the fence itself, I know there's, but the specs are there, for the columns. Can you tell me what kind of brick you're going to be using? Is it going to be, is it going to be consistent with the kind of brick columns that are in the rest of the neighborhood? Or
we will make our greatest attempt to do that. And if the city can guide us on that, on what type of brick is being used, we're happy to follow along with that so it looks consistent. There would be a break in it because there's open space on either side, as you probably well know.
Okay.
Well, that'll probably be handled through the building permit process. with the regs and standards on those fence details. Okay? Okay, I guess we'll close this portion of the public hearing open it up for discussion.
Wait, is there anyone in the
Sorry.
audience that wanted to testify? I'm looking to the one.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak?
Come on up to the mic and introduce yourself.
Please state your name and address for us.
Jean Wyman, and I live at 5865 Blue Sage Drive. The plans call for 40 feet back to be the sound fencing, and that's 8 feet high, and then it drops down to 6 foot. But it's a picket fence at that point. And I just wondered if that was something that was normally done as part of the aesthetic piece of this, so.
I guess that question would be for the owner. Picket fence, it could just be a solid fence, or it could have space in between it. Do we know what the intent is?
I need you to come up to the microphone.
Just
Miss,
a second.
I need you to come up to the microphone so we get you on the record.
Right now, it's a rail fence, at least that's what I call it. And it is quite old, and we hope at some point to replace all of that with a much nicer looking fence.
This is on the east and the west side?
East and west side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So per her question, I mean, when you say picket fence, are you intending that'll be a 6-foot solid fence, or will it have space in between the pickets?
It would probably be a solid fence because we hope to have a dog at some point that we would like to be able to enclose somewhere. But we love looking at the views both east and west, so we don't want to keep the fence too high. We need to see
Sure.
what height would look best.
Okay.
It may be a question for staff with respect to the side fences and what the regulations are.
What the requirements are.
Correct. There are no requirements to have a fence. However, the side property lines and the rear property line can have up to 6 foot and up to solid fence as part of the building permit process.
But it's also optional to be open as well.
It is optional.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Come on up,
Can you please
come
come?
back.
Sorry.
So the plans on the City of Littleton website that I looked at showed 50% open picket fence, 6 foot tall,
Okay.
after the 40-foot sound fence ends. So that's why I was asking.
Okay.
And that portion would not be part of the variance tonight. The variance is for the front yard
For the
fence.
8-foot sound fence?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. We'll close the public hearing, discussion amongst ourselves. Were you able to see the setback on here, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
I reviewed the package.
Okay.
I'm just a little concerned that,
I need you to speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Member Jenna,
just,
thank you.
I still have that concern about, waiting for the building permit to do the survey to make a determination as to what the front driveway, the safety aspect of it, whether or not that has to be wider than the current driveway that's currently there, or what's going to occur in that regard. I mean, if that goes to the process, then we're just talking about the fence. We're not really talking about because part of the criteria is number 5 is basically the health and safety of both the property as well as the environment.
I think that's addressed through the building permit process.
Well, that's where I guess I'm a little concerned that we don't have any insight into that. So if we provide the variance, then we really don't. I mean, we've kind of given up that part of the.
Don, I think there's a mitigating factor, and that is the secondary entrance off to Blue Sage.
Well, I agree with you.
So if, in essence, the fire department allows it, they could probably just use that entrance. But so, and we've heard from the applicant that she's willing to comply with all of that, so I think it's mitigated.
I think our issue is really just the variance to allow that
For the fence.
8-foot solid fence
Yeah, except that
in
again,
lieu
like,
of the 50%.
like I said, you know, that number 5, you know, the fifth criteria there with regard to, or number 4, the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare.
But I think it's incumbent upon the traffic engineer before they issue the building permit to ensure that. So I think we can delegate our responsibility under that item criteria to the traffic engineers, because that's their responsibility. That's how I see
Well,
it.
I agree with you, but, you know, I think the process is backwards, but that's.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
we
see
should
your
have an
point.
answer to that before we, you know, look at granting a variance.
I think that this is entirely consistent with variances that we've granted in the past. And that it's appropriate.
Anything else? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve case number VAR 15-003, a request for variance to the 4-foot maximum fence height and 50% open requirement at 4189 West Bowles Avenue. Be approved in that the request does meet all of the criteria of Section 10-11-1B of the Littleton City Code that are required to exist for the board to grant approval. Approval of this application is based on the following findings of fact. The requested variance would not allow any use other than the uses permitted in the RE zone district, which is single-family residential. Number 2, the proposed fence will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, since the proposed design, consisting of solid cedar and brick columns, is consistent with other fences along Bowles Avenue. Number 3, the proposed location of the fence is the minimum that will afford relief and is the least possible modification of the code. The same type of fencing exists along both the north and south sides of West Bowles Avenue adjacent to the property in order to buffer the existing homes from the traffic, noise, and lights. Number 4, the proposed fence will not have any negative effects on the public health, safety, or welfare, as its location will not create any visibility or safety concerns. There will be a positive effect of a reduction of noise and light pollution for the property owner. And finally, number 5, the hardship under which this variance is sought was neither created by the owner, occupant, or agent of the owner of the property in question, nor the result of a violation of any provision of this code, as the conditions existed before the applicants purchased the property.
We have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
We have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Thank you. All right. Any other business? Right? Okay, move to adjourn this meeting.